Last week, it was revealed that Chick-fil-A has an executive on their staff that is in charge of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And on their website, it was revealed that they are dedicated to making sure that DEI is in everything that they do, that it's inundating everything that they say and everything that they believe at Chick-fil-A. Now, a lot of people have questions about what DEI is, and is it really a big deal? And of course, to come to the rescue are people like the New Evangelicals, who have been featured on the show before for their hot takes on things that are neither new or evangelical. And so here's what Tim from the New Evangelicals had to say in response to the controversy of DEI at Chick-fil-A and whether or not Christians should boycott them. So here's that.
Is breaking news about Chick-fil-A, and I hope you're sitting down for this one, because what they did was so horrible, so terrible, so evil and despicable that now right-wing media pundits are calling for a boycott. Yes, the once fast food sanctuary of Christian values might get canceled by the people who hate cancel culture because they have this on their website. Quote, "One of our core values at Chick-fil-A is that we are better together. When we combine our unique backgrounds and experiences with the culture of belonging, we can discover new ways to strengthen the quality of care we deliver. Chick-fil-A's commitment to being better at together means embedding diversity, equity, and inclusion in everything we do." Now, this might seem great to you because it is, but if you're Charlie Kirk, what you actually heard was,
but DEI is flat out anti-white bigotry and racism.
That's right. Making room for other people who face barriers that people like me and Charlie don't face is apparently anti-white.
Oh, I love you, Tim, but you need a lot of help, friend. So DEI, according to Tim, is removing barriers from people of color that white people may not face. Huh. Well, that's interesting, Tim. You know, a little bit of humility may go a long way. I understand that you don't really read the Bible and try to get it to change your life and conform your life to what the scripture actually says. But if you did, you might run into passages that give you the impression that if you really don't know what you're talking about, you probably shouldn't be so bold to talk about it the way you do, but I guess that's too much to expect. So what is DEI, and should we be concerned that Chick-fil-A has a DEI kind of corporate wing to what they are doing, like so many other Fortune 100 companies and Fortune 500 companies that are now separating people based upon race, telling white people they have white privilege, and forcing people to wear Black Lives Matter shirts? Should we care about all of that? Well, if you listen to the name New Evangelicals, you might get the wrong impression and think that these guys actually are evangelical or Christian for that matter. And that's the same as DEI. Diversity sounds great. Equity, at least at first glance, sounds great. We want equality, right? But is that the same thing? And inclusion sounds great. Let's include people. Let's include as many things as we possibly can so that we're inclusive. Sounds great. Sounds just like Black Lives Matter, as I've already referenced in the show today, until you read their website and realize these people want to destroy the nuclear family. Haven't liberals done enough of that lately? But yet, how are we going to square that circle of how Black Lives Matter actually wants to help people when they want to destroy their families? So let's hear, not from Tim of the New Evangelicals, but let's listen to Robin DiAngelo herself, the godmother, or God, they, them, however she identifies herself, the creator of white fragility. Let's listen to her tell us about what DEI actually is.
In so many ways is to be raised to be functionally illiterate on the topic of race. I am white, and part of being white is that I was not raised to see myself in racial terms. I mean, I understood that somebody had race, but not really me. To be white is to see oneself outside of race, to see oneself as a unique, special individual, exempt from the forces of socialization. I don't see color as really a way of saying I refuse to acknowledge your reality. First of all, we're already divided by race. And focusing on race is not what did it. I would say not focusing on race, refusing to grapple with how race shapes virtually everything is what keeps us divided.
Thank you for that helpful reminder, Robin. You are the godmother of DEI seminars in corporate settings, so it is helpful for us to understand that all white people are functionally illiterate about the topic of race. Now, do me a favor for a second and reverse that. Say anything you want to about a black person using that kind of terminology. Black people are functionally illiterate about fill in the blank. No, you would never say that. You know why? Because it would be oddly racist from somebody that calls themselves an anti-racist. Well, of course we know the Ibram X. Kendis of the world say that the only way to get rid of past discrimination is present discrimination. Well, congratulations, Robin. Mission accomplished. Let me give you one other point about this idea of what is DEI really. Viewing everything through the lens of race not only is the epitome of racist because it is viewing everything racially, but it is also something that is incredibly racist because it removes personal agency from people. Now, Robin DiAngelo's claim in the video is that white people can get away with not thinking it's about race, but black people who are faced with the fact that they're oppressed by their race every single day, they can't afford to look past the race. Here's the problem with that. When you make everything racial and you view everything through a racial lens, you no longer become personally responsible. You immediately give people an excuse that what is happening to them is because of systemic oppression and because society is systemically racist. You make it about the race. So for instance, when I get pulled over by a police officer, the cop is belligerent, gives me a ticket, and is very rude to me. I don't have the luxury of saying it's because I'm white, because that's been taken away by these racial essentialists. But the black person, because they want to help these people view everything through the lens of race, well, of course, then you would immediately assume, well, the only reason he acted that way is because I'm black. It couldn't be because I was rude, couldn't be because I was belligerent, couldn't be because I was speeding. It was because I was black. And so it removes personal responsibility. This is incredibly important, especially as it pertains to this idea. When we talk about reparations or when we talk about past systemic racism, I'm happy to talk about how the past has impacted the present. But I'm only willing to have that conversation if you're willing to talk about how your own personal decision-making is also responsible for the current situation that you're living in. And if we can't really discern how much of it has to do with past racism or how much of it has to do with our past decision-making, then maybe we should just quit thinking about it through the lens of race altogether. But that could be what these people are really after at the end of the day. What if these corporations in bed with the World Economic Forum and the UN are really just using DEI as a way of social engineering through Marxist principles? Here is somebody who had something pretty troubling to say about this very idea.
So the PGLE, Partnership for Global LGBTI Equality, this is a group that was formed in collaboration with the World Economic Forum after 5 or 6 years of working behind the scenes with senior leaders at just a handful of companies. This organization was founded in January of 2019, but there's strength in numbers. So with the platform of the World Economic Forum, the power of the UN, and then finally the strength in the companies working together, where when you combine the economies, the corporate economies of those 14 countries, we're bigger than a lot of countries. So tremendous power. In Davos a couple of years ago, Vice President Biden met privately with those of us working behind the scenes, and he sat down with us and looked us in the eye, and he said, you companies can do what we government cannot and will never do.
So what you should know about that very disturbing clip that I just showed you is the PGLE is the Partnership for Global LGBTQIA+ ad infinitum equality. And they work with the World Economic Forum, the UN, and major corporations in America in cooperation, obviously, apparently, with the President of the United States to enact fascist overhauls of our society outside the medium of democracy. What does "you can do what I can't do" mean other than you can force compliance on these issues that I wouldn't be able to do because I'm hindered by this thing called democracy? So really disturbingly, DEI is a false morality that is being used to engineer a society built on egocentrism, leftism, and postmodernism. It's trying to influence the world. If that doesn't scare the hell out of you, or at least motivate you to enact righteous change, I don't know what will. The fact that Chick-fil-A is on board with DEI is troubling to say the least. Not only is it racially divisive, but it is also a Marxist attempt to try to influence our world toward leftism. It might be time for us to admit that Christians have been falling for Orwellian tactics like diversity, equity, and inclusion for far too long. Whenever we're told that we're being intolerant if we actually tell what the Bible says about homosexuality, or if we actually speak up against the gender mutilation of children, maybe that's just simply a trick to keep us to shut up. Maybe the church isn't as judgmental as everyone says it is. Maybe the people who say that the church is judgmental want to make sure that the church is silent on issues that matter. But maybe it's time to speak out on these issues, because in the absence of our voice, a strong Christian voice in the world is changing and radically shifting left and further from God as we do it. I hope that was helpful. It's all the time we have for today. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and most importantly, to go with God. So you just got done watching a small excerpt of a much larger episode. You can find the link to that full episode down below in the description of this video. So you definitely want to check that out, because if you like that clip, you'll like the much larger episode. And while you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and click that little bell to be notified when great new episodes of Indie Thinker come your way. Thanks for watching.